Once again, a warm good morning to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for making it here, and I hope the inaugural panel did add a lot of value to what you had come here for, and did add a lot of value to the kind of work that you are willing to do within the organizations. As I said in the very beginning, this conversation is going to be a blend of the academicians and the industry that we have put together under this. So we have our team here, our panel here, where I'm going to be talking about advancing higher education from course to curriculum, and we're going to set a Coursera perspective here as well. And my beginning of this conversation should start from one of the most important aspects that the NEP has also encouraged in our education now, and that everybody is talking about, and all universities in some manner are also inculcating, is online learning for credit. I think this is one of the most important topics that people are talking about at the moment. So let's start the discussion. A lot of universities today are incorporating global online content within their curriculum. This has a lot of value to the kind of learning that you produce, the kind of upskilling that you produce, and also the kind of job ready talent that you are expected to produce within the universities. So how are you bridging the gaps? How are you finding the right curriculum, and how are you finding that sweet spot where you are giving the right education to the student and also creating the right talent for the industry? So I'll maybe start from you, sir. And in the interest of time, since we have only 30 minutes for this panel and I have like 3 million questions, so we'll just try to keep it as crisp and as concise as possible. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar, all of you. Thank you, ObserveNow, for giving me the opportunity to share my thought process. My sincere congratulations to the organizers. The kind of caption they put here is curriculum to career. Really outstanding. My sincere appreciations. I think the organizers really deserves a big round of applause for the kind of caption. In fact, Tina ji was talking about new education policy. In fact, in curriculum to career, there are 3 areas: curricular, real theory or curricular area, co-curricular area, and extracurricular area. Our new education policy has been designed based on one ancient learning process called Acharyataha Padamadanti, Padam Shishyaha Swamedhayaha, Padam Sadbrahmacharinobhyaha, Padam Kalakramenat Saha. So we have Panchendriyas. All these Panchendriyas should take part. That's how the real learning process. So we have this, most of the universities have curricular syllabi, but there is no absolute co-curricular syllabi, extracurricular syllabi. If co-curricular syllabi is designed, extracurricular syllabi is designed using the current technologies, I am sure really whatever the skill gaps are there, if you look at the statistics, only 25 to 30% of the passed out engineers are being placed. Approximately 70 to 75% of the passed out engineers are not being placed unemployable due to lack of skills. I am sure this curricular, co-curricular, extracurricular syllabi, if it is designed using the technology, 100% students will be skilled. Thank you so much.
And of course, there is a lot of intent from universities as well to, bridge this gap, and they've understood that the kind of education that was needed 10 years ago is extremely different from what is required at the moment. That is really reassuring, sir. Thank you so much for bringing in your thoughts here.
Thank you.
Another aspect that we should cover in this conversation would be there is a lot of new age industries as well, sir, that are coming up, and a lot of new age startups that are coming up as well. And there are a lot of traditional companies like your Metas and the Googles and the Microsofts of the world. So how are you, in continuation to what sir spoke about creating job ready talent, so how are you trying to find that sweet spot between what a newer age industry requires, a startup requires, as opposed to what a traditional company is required? And is there any gap from the education side as well that needs to be bridged? And when I say technology, let's say a partner like Coursera, how do you expect them to help you?
I am Professor Lakshman Rao, representing JNT University as a Director Academic Affairs. As the title gives, the preparedness of the higher education is one of the very big gap, follows by the career and the curriculum developments. When you look at most of our education at the intermediate level or 10th class, they are only reflection. When it comes to the ITI level and diploma level, it's a relation and reflection. When it comes to the professional education, it's supposed to be relation and the reasoning. That is a missing gap in the higher education. By virtue of the education system, for the students who are entering at the higher education, should be strengthened on the concept and mechanisms. Follows by when the students entered into the professional colleges, there should be only 2 or 4 divisions. One is the applied engineering, basic engineering, applied sciences, and basic sciences. Because many times we come across beyond the BTech, we need to address the problem solving and product development. That's an area where the students are not exposed and there is no integrated interdisciplinary approach. So because of that reason, the curriculum what we plan is put on to the limitations of the safeguarding the teacher talent and safeguarding the student laziness or penetrativeness is getting deficient or is denied. So because of that, I will say that we need to use, whether it's a computer vision or deep learning or AI or machine learning should be taken up, or JS mapping should be taken up at the applied engineering, and every syllabus frame for any of the branch should have like the 5 chapters. Out of 5, the 3 should be of the core in each subject and 2 should be at the applied level. And the 3 labs should be concerned to the application level where most of the products and problem solving should be developed. If this sort of entitled takes a shape and the students get monitored with the CV and the faculty get monitored with NLP and CV, then everyone is going to be perfect in its positioning. Otherwise, the faculty is going to flee away by not behaving in a hypocrite manner as if they know many things. So in that line, I would like to say that even I am proposing to the government that there should be central halls which should work for the calibration of the student standards, staff standards, and technology standards. And syllabus should be interdisciplinary and product development, problem solving in all the areas, whether it's a mechanical or civil or electrical electronics, should be put in, injected into the even the computer science branches. Then at the end of it, everyone is going to fit in to address the societal, technology, environment, and climate side, which are the order of the tomorrow. And the AI, what we say, the ChatGPT, what we say, is going to be useful to the limitation of concepts and mechanisms. Rest should be put to the ground reality, and that's going to be successful for the academics, and higher education is going to be successful, and the career is going to be for equal to everyone, and the computer science professionals at the end of it, they need not be exposed for new problem solving and product development. So this sort of interdisciplinary, integrated, and 24-hour working of the central halls should be opened up. And I advise even to the government, there should be one central hall in all the professional engineering colleges. We should adapt 40 villages with them so that 12,000 villages in a state can be meaningful for skill development and exposed to the knowledge with technology. I thank you for giving this opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir. And clearly there is a lot of intent and clearly there is a lot of effort as well in this direction. So building on from what, sir, you've said, I think my next question would also be in sync with the kind of faculty training that is also now required to bridge this gap. Sir, your thoughts on where you are in the industry in terms of bridging that gap? What is the need of the hour and what is the technological support that is required as well?
Let me start elsewhere. In education, one size does not fit all. This is well understood. Even if we have children, we know that one sibling is very different from the other sibling. The institutions also need to take this into cognizance. If you're talking about 4.33 crore AISHE survey 21-22, and you're talking about 58,000 institutions in the country, which is the largest number of institutions, and a gross enrollment ratio of 28.4, different parts of India are very different from each other.
Absolutely.
Now, if you thrust and push certain solutions from the top, which is what has been conventionally happening, it doesn't work. So what is the place where it works? It is first the institution. It is not necessary that a management institution in Srikakulam aspires to be IIM Ahmedabad. IIM Ahmedabad's purpose is different. It serves a limited number of students. It can't serve all the students in the world. The institution in Srikakulam will serve a different purpose based on something that Professor here said. Local 40 villages or whatever the territory may be, there may be strengths. So there needs to be contextualization. This is one of the first jobs that institutions have to do. Now in the current setup, everyone follows NIRF and wants to be number 1, number 2, at least number 100, right? Now, if you've got 1,000 different varieties, what is the meaning of number 1? What is the meaning of 100? India is such a place that the diversity is so high that even an institution sitting in a remote place can carve its own specialization and carve its own distinctiveness so that it is the best in India for that. It has got that sort of a diversity. Now I'll come back to the point. Now I'll come to the point. The point is that at the institutional level, first there needs to be a sense of purpose. My sense of purpose is not to be like the Wimbledon winner this time, right? Because I am a tennis player, I want to be like him. Because I am not playing tennis, I am playing something else. So there needs to be a sense of purpose for the institution. That sense of purpose needs to be articulated very clearly. And distinctively, I may look at what others are doing, but I need to look at my context. So my ecology, my economy, my education. This triangle needs to be looked at. If you look at this triangle, then you can articulate your institution's vision in a far more powerful manner, because every student is different, every institution is different. If that is the case, that articulation gives a sense of identity. It gives a sense of power. It gives a sense of belongingness. It gives a sense that yes, I am serving a purpose. I don't have to compare myself and say that I am a lowly being which is not even accredited. So this sense of purpose is first what the faculty need to decide. When I say faculty, it is the team of people with leadership and with proper guidance which needs to decide this. Based on the evolution, institutions may have a purpose, but I think that needs to be now given a much stronger sense of identity. Every institution. I am not distinguishing between X and Y. That's the first point. The second point which needs to come in is when we say that how do we bring in technology. Today we have got demographics and technology as two powerful forces. It's not just technology. Demographics also worldwide is changing. You've got a global talent shortage, and India is supposed to be ahead on the demographic curve. But if you talk about the global talentology, even India is saying there's a 71% gap, which means that what is required and what is there is different. Now this contextualization based on the sense of purpose is what the faculty need to do. When I say faculty first, the senior levels, call it the academic council or the board of studies or leadership in a department. First they need to do it along with the team, and then the faculty need to do it for the students who are there. Now if one is able to do this, then you can talk about personalization and customization. If your approach to empowering students, the key word is empowering. If you want to empower, it must be learner-centric. It cannot be teacher-centric. Now, therefore, how do you know that it is learner-centric? So words like personalization and customization do come in. But how do you understand this? The people who best understand it are teachers. Not technology comes after that. Because if you give large data sets, and if you look at Swayam as well as Coursera, B2C, may not be B2B, the certification rates are low. The reason is the lack of the teachers who are getting involved in the middle for engagement. So if you want engagement, the teacher is a centerpiece of that. So all your programs, whether it is design of the program or delivery of the program, it will be based on what is required in that context for that institution by the teacher. And the collective is that is what the institution does. I think there's a stopwatch in front of me. I'll stop now.
But thank you so much, sir, for your detailed thoughts as well. Archana ma'am, again, over to you in terms of how adaptive do you think, and I do agree on the personalization part as well. So how adaptive do you think teachers today are in terms of upskilling themselves, and where does this personalization aspect come in when you talk about upskilling the faculty?
Tanya ji, when I was looking at the topic of this conference, and by the way, I am Archana Mantri, I am Vice Chancellor of Anurag University in Hyderabad. I did some high-level thinking. And when you look at the education landscape today, and for that matter, since the beginning of education era, it's like a big elephant. And from which angle you are looking and who is looking or who is feeling that elephant, whether it is from rear or from front or from the top, the education landscape is seen in a different manner. So there are three stakeholders clearly: students, educators or educational institutes, and the absorption or the absorbing, it may be industry, it may be society. So the three angles looking at the education landscape, and the answer changes. Similarly, on a time-space continuum, if you look at this educational, if you keep this educational landscape, the answers would change. So today, and for that matter, I would say historically also and going in future also, this education landscape is going to be a very different kind, or whosoever is looking at from which angle, the education landscape and the answers would change. Now coming to the role of, see, all of us here are educators in some way or the other, even including Manik, who is sort of got into the enabling the educational institutes to create that purpose of education. So I believe that the curriculum to career is never going to be a linear kind of a process or an answer that we can find it in this context. So the purpose of education for a student is different. The purpose of education for an educator is different, and this is debatable. Whatever all these statements that I'm making is debatable. And the purpose of education so I'll give you an example. I was in a conference kind of a symposium wherein the central theme was well-being, mental health and well-being. And there were healthcare companies in the room, there were educators in the room, there were students in the room. It was a typical conference where they have all of this. Now, while at the same time, the healthcare companies, or their requirement was that we want, from a professional perspective, people who can work for us, but also they know the central meaning of empathy. Do they empathize with our customers? The educators, for them, maybe technology was important. How we can sort of teach technology to the students so that they are meant, so that they can serve that healthcare company. And for the students, the things were completely different. Whether we will get a job, equity, inclusion, equality, all those kinds of things were paramount for them. And then there was social angle, there was a technological angle, there was so many angles to this central piece. So I mean, I cannot comment on curriculum to careers. First we need to find out what is it that purpose of education is on that time-space continuum and bring it to conclusion as a central piece. What is it? So, I mean, I'll leave with that comment here, and would rather, this is an intriguing question for me also, and I want everybody to think in that direction. What is that central piece? Thank you.
All right, ma'am. Maybe if we find that centerpiece, and that would be a conversation for another time, and I think that would be a starting point on when we discuss what personalization means to each and every one of us. Manik, before I get a Coursera perspective, I'll just have a quick word from sir, and sir, in continuation to what I asked ma'am, again, where do you see the gap in terms of teacher training within the organization, or also if you want to add the AI integration into the curriculum piece to this conversation? I think that would be helpful before we bring in the Coursera perspective.
Distinguished honorable members on the dais and in the audience, have been in teaching line for the last 60 years. Over this period of time, there is some transformation which has taken place. In the initial stages of industrial development, we were having few engineering colleges and some new industries, especially in the heavy industries area. Government has taken a lot of interest and then started. Now those industries, they were in the public sector, not in the private sector. So those industries, they were taking engineering graduates from various institutions, and they were having induction training program anywhere up to 3 years. 3 long years. And only then they were placed in various sectors of the industry. Now the situation has changed. For the last 15 to 20 years, we find many of the public sector industries are becoming sick, and government is taking action to see that these are taken up by private industry, where there is more accountability and also administratively. And that's how the private industry is now ruling the country. Friends, what they are telling now, they want to reduce the induction training program. They want to have an engineering graduate available as a ready-made product so that they can straight away be utilized for the particular purpose they are employing. So in many organizations have actually come forward to have industry-institute interaction meetings. In every meeting, it starts with a blame game and it also ends with a blame game. Industry says, you are producing people who are half-baked products, they are not useful to us. The public sector did not say at that time. Now the private sector is doing that because they would like to save the money which they are spending for the training purpose. So in the process, institutions are being blamed continuously, and the institutions say on the other hand that the products of the institutions are, you are taking them, and so you should have some interest on the way in which the teaching is going on, training is going on in the institutions, which the industry is not coming forward to associate. So these two units, industry on one side, institution on the other side, they are working in two different silos. There is no interaction at all.
Right.
Government is also, as a matter of fact, is interested to do something so that they will come together. Because they would like to have the manpower which could be easily employed so that unemployment can be reduced. But even now, there is no collaboration at all between the industry and institution. And unless the industry and institution come together, work together with a facilitation from government side or pressure from government side, the situation will not change. In another 2 decades also, same blame game will continue.
Absolutely.
In fact, who are the people who are going to be benefited by having better graduates coming out? It is the industry. A number of ways they are going to actually have greater advantage when somebody is prepared to be industry ready. So this has to be done. Unless this takes place during my lifetime, I don't think there will be any change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And I truly agree that that is definitely a concerning point. If the two, in fact three, if you include the government, three key stakeholders in education are working in silos, then to find that connecting point is definitely an issue. But I think, Manik, right placement to ask you this question at the end of the panel as well, because you are that one stakeholder that is connected to the industry, to the academia, and of course to the students as well. So we've heard the industry perspective, the academia perspective. Bring in a Coursera student perspective here. How are you empowering students? What are the kind of changes that you are seeing and the willingness in terms of adaptation from students? Some stats that you can bring in?
Thank you, Tanya, and thank you everyone for the wonderful insights. Probably one of the youngest member in the panel, and I would say definitely least educated in terms of my background also. It's a humbling experience to sit here and discuss my perspective. I would say, some of the elements, and I will share some data around it on what all conversations we had today. From curriculum to careers, if we have to, kind of navigate this journey, how do you think we all can add some value? In terms of Coursera, how, Coursera as an online provider of content has been revolutionizing this space. I would just give some statistics and kind of value that it's adding for India. Out of 148 million learners globally, 24.6 million learners are from India. Now that in itself, it is the second largest number apart from US. That stats in itself, that data in itself tells you that how hungry students are in terms of learning online. I'll give you another stats. Highest number of enrollments worldwide since January 2020. The number is 60 million. That has come from India. Another great divide we talked about between the gender divide. Globally, the gender divide between Coursera course takers is 54-46, 54% men and 46% women. In India, it's catching up very favorably. It's right now 61% men and 39% women. This number was 26% women in 2019. So we are seeing an upward trend in terms of more women online learning users. And what are they, kind of studying? They are studying generative AI. They are studying cybersecurity. They are studying, all these new age skills that industry wants. And this is how the students who are finding probably that gap in the formal education ecosystem are trying to fill through Coursera or any other learning platform for that matter. So our value, our proposition for Coursera for Campus is that while the data in itself is clearly indicating, three major trends. One is growth of generative AI, growth of cybersecurity, growth of courses like content like AI, ML, data sciences. This is what the student of today wants to study. The second trend is they want to study as per their convenience in terms of availability. They don't want to be completely, restricted to a certain time format, in a place format. They want flexibility. And another very, very important element that we see is the demand for scalable and credit eligible content. So when we can, the best way to marry these two elements that we are seeing is that on one hand, we have a curriculum which the university proposes to the student, not proposes, in fact, it is dictated to the student and there are credits assigned to it. And on second hand, there are certain new age skills which students want to learn because they know they will get the job from it. So why can we not add those skills in the credit framework? We have, respected members here who know that AICTE also has approved 20 to 40% credit eligibility, on online MOOC courses. So this is a wonderful ecosystem, I would say enablement that has already happened, which can really help in terms of how, this entire structure can be stitched. And in the last point, I would say, we are very, very happy to share one very important element. It's a course on generative AI for university leaders. For all members today, it's a free course on Coursera offered by Vanderbilt University. The course has been designed in specifically aligned to the requirements of university leaders in order to learn generative AI. I will request Tanya and the team from ObserveNow to share more details about the course during the day. So I would encourage all the university leaders to take up this course, Generative AI for University Leaders on Coursera. It's a complimentary course, and please, this will help in terms of understanding what challenges lie ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manik. A detailed perspective as well. And as he said, my team is here, and any kind of details that you would need, we'll be happy to provide you as well. And I think a good starting point for everybody, because Gen AI is also relatively new at this point, and it has just literally been born and raised in front of us in just a year or so, actually. But thank you so much. I want to extend a heartfelt gratitude to all my esteemed speakers, and especially to the team of Coursera for Campus led by Mr. Manik, who has enabled this power panel for the first panel for ELCA Day 1 here today. Thank you so much, everyone, and let's take this conversation offline now. But before we wrap this up, I would like to request you to stay on the stage for a quick felicitation ceremony, and then the event has just started. A lot more conversations ahead, so let's keep the energy high. Thank you so much. Good heartfelt thank you to the audiences here as well for patiently listening in. Thank you all.